The celebration hall on Unity Station glowed with lights from 100 different worlds. Captain Jake Morrison stood near the viewing window, watching ships from across the galaxy drift past the massive space station. 20 years had passed since humans first met alien life, and tonight felt like proof that humanity had finally found its place among the stars. Lisa Grant walked up beside him, holding 2 glasses of something blue and fizzing. She was Earth's top scientist, studying alien life, and she had spent the last 3 months working with the Vakreen people. Her dark hair was tied back, and she looked tired, but happy. "You should be proud," she said, handing him a glass. "What you did out there saved thousands of lives." Jake took the drink, but did not sip it yet. He was thinking about the mission, about how close they had come to losing everything. The Vakreen colony had been dying when the horizon's edge arrived. A star nearby was collapsing, sending waves of radiation that would have killed everyone on the planet. Jake and his crew had worked with the Vakreen engineers to build shields strong enough to protect the colony until everyone could evacuate. "We just did what anyone would do," Jake said. Lisa laughed. "That's the thing, Jake. Most species wouldn't have done it. They would have called it impossible and left. But you stayed. You found a way." Across the hall, Ambassador Helen Torres was speaking with a group of council members. She was a strong woman, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had represented Earth for 15 years, and she had earned respect from even the oldest species in the galaxy. But tonight, Jake noticed something odd. Some of the council members were looking at the human delegation strangely. Ryan Blake appeared at Jake's other side. He was the second in command, on the horizon's edge, a military man who always saw threats before anyone else. "Notice the Zentari?" he asked quietly. Jake followed Ryan's gaze. A group of Zentari stood in the corner, their scaled bodies reflecting the lights. They were not celebrating. They were watching, and their eyes were cold. "They've been like that all night," Ryan continued. "I don't like it." Before Jake could respond, a voice called out across the hall. It was Counselor Vestan, a tall alien with 4 arms and skin that changed colors when he spoke. "Attention. Honored guests, we gather tonight to celebrate our human friends and their remarkable achievement." Everyone turned to listen. Vestan continued speaking about the mission, about how Jake and his crew had shown courage and intelligence. The crowd applauded. But Jake saw that not everyone was clapping. The Zentari remained still. After the speech, Helen Torres made her way to Jake's group. She smiled, but her eyes were worried. "Something's wrong," she said softly. "The council called a private meeting tomorrow. They didn't invite me." "That's unusual," Lisa said. "You're supposed to be in all major meetings." Helen nodded. "They said it's about a special assessment of humanity. They're calling it an honor, a chance to better understand our species and integrate us more fully into council operations." Ryan's jaw tightened. "An assessment? After 20 years? That's what concerns me," Helen said. "Why now? We've proven ourselves over and over. We've followed every rule, respected every treaty. What more do they need to know?" Jake watched as a Zentari scientist named Krelix moved through the crowd, speaking briefly with various council members. Each conversation was short, but Jake noticed something. After speaking with Krelix, each council member would glance toward the human delegation with an expression Jake could not quite read. Was it fear? Suspicion? The next day, Lisa was working in her laboratory aboard the station when she received an unusual request. The council wanted samples of human biology, detailed records of Earth's environment, and historical data about human evolution. They said it was for the assessment, to create a comprehensive database. Lisa provided everything they asked for. She had nothing to hide. Humans were cooperative members of the galactic community. She sent them information about Earth's gravity, its atmosphere, its weather patterns. She included data about human diseases, about how humans adapted to different environments, about the history of human civilization. What she did not know was that in a secured room deep in the station, Krellix was analyzing everything with growing alarm. He stared at the data on his screen, his scales turning pale. Earth's gravity was nearly twice what most species considered comfortable. The oxygen levels in Earth's atmosphere were dangerously high. The temperature swings were extreme. The planet had survived multiple mass extinction events. And humans, these seemingly friendly creatures, had evolved to thrive in all of it. Krellix began to compile a report. He marked it urgent and classified. The title read, Assessment of Species Designated Human. Threat Level Evaluation. Meanwhile, Jake and Ryan were conducting routine maintenance on the horizon's edge when they intercepted a strange signal. It was encrypted, but Ryan's systems caught fragments of it. The message was between two Gentari ships, and it contained coordinates for human colonies. Why would they be mapping our settlements? Ryan asked. Jake did not have an answer, but a cold feeling settled in his stomach. That evening, the council gathered without the human representatives. Krellix presented his findings. When he finished, the chamber was silent. Then voices erupted in panic and anger. A death world. Class 12? How did we not know? They're dangerous. Look at these physical capabilities. We've allowed them to integrate completely. They have access to our technology, our worlds, our secrets. Vex then tried to calm the chamber. They have been peaceful. They have helped us. This changes nothing about their character. But his voice was drowned out by others. The Gentari representative stood. It changes everything. They are predators from a world that should have killed them. They survived because they are the most dangerous thing on their planet. And now, they are here. Among us. Growing stronger every day. We must act, before it is too late. The vote was called. Humanity would be assessed as a potential threat. Restrictions would be discussed. Contingencies would be planned. And none of the humans knew that their golden years in the galaxy were about to end. The message arrived 3 days later. Ambassador Helen Torres read it twice, unable to believe what she was seeing. The Council was requesting that all human military vessels return to Earth immediately. All human colonists on mixed-species worlds were to be relocated. All human access to Council technology databases was suspended pending review. She called an emergency meeting with Jake, Lisa, and Ryan aboard the Horizon's Edge. This is insane, Ryan said, pacing the conference room. We haven't done anything wrong. Lisa was reading through the official assessment report that had been leaked to them by Counselor Vex then. Her hands shook as she scrolled through page after page of analysis. They're calling Earth a Class 12 death world. Do you know what that means? Only 3 other known inhabited planets in the galaxy are rated that high. What makes Earth so dangerous? Jake asked. Lisa pulled up images and data on the wall screen. Everything. Our gravity crushes most species. Our oxygen levels are toxic to half the Council races. Our temperature ranges would kill species adapted to stable climates. Our planet has predators that other worlds eliminated millions of years ago. We have volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis. But we're not dangerous, Jake said. We're just people. That's what scares them, Lisa replied. We think this is normal. We don't realize how extreme our home is. They tested human soldiers against their best warriors in simulations. Jake. We won every single time. Our endurance alone is beyond what they thought possible. We can run for hours. We can survive injuries that would kill most species. We heal faster. We adapt faster. We problem-solve under pressure better than anyone they've tested. Ryan stopped pacing. So they're afraid of us. Terrified, Lisa confirmed. Helen's communicator beeped. It was Vex then, requesting a private channel. She accepted, and the alien's face appeared on the screen. His colors were shifting rapidly. A sign of distress. Ambassador, you must prepare, Vex then said urgently. I have risked much to contact you. The Council is meeting tomorrow. The Zentari are pushing for immediate action against humanity. They claim you are too dangerous to coexist with the rest of the galaxy. That's ridiculous, Helen said. We've been peaceful for 20 years. They do not care about your actions. Vex then replied. They care about your potential. They have run simulations. In every scenario where humans are allowed to continue growing, you become the dominant military power in the galaxy within a century. They will not allow that to happen. Jake leaned forward. What kind of action are they proposing? Vex then's colors turned dark. Quarantine. They want to seal Earth off from the rest of the galaxy. No ships in or out. No trade. No communication. Complete isolation. That's a death sentence for our colonies, Ryan said. I know, Vex then said sadly. I have argued against this. Others have too. But the Gentari have convinced many that humans are an existential threat. I wanted to warn you. Prepare for the worst. The channel closed. The 4 humans sat in silence. We need to contact Earth, Jake finally said. They need to know what's coming, but when they tried to send a message, they found their communications were being blocked. The Council had already started restricting human access to the relay network. Amy Chen, the pilot of the Horizon's Edge, managed to jury-rig a narrow-band transmission that got through. She reached General Marcus Webb on Earth, and Helen explained the situation. Webb's response was grim. We've been monitoring unusual fleet movements near human colonies. Ships from multiple Council species, all moving into position. If they're planning what you think they're planning, we don't have much time. Can we defend ourselves? Ryan asked. Against the entire galactic fleet? No. We're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. The next day, the Council delivered their ultimatum. It was broadcast on every channel. Impossible to ignore. The message was clear. Humanity was classified as a dangerous species. All human military forces were to disarm immediately. All spacecraft capable of faster-than-light travel were to be surrendered. Earth would be quarantined for the safety of the galaxy. Helen Torres stood before the Council chamber to deliver humanity's response. She looked at the hundreds of species gathered there, species she had worked with for years, and she saw fear in their eyes. Members of the Council, she began, her voice steady. Humanity has committed no crime. We have violated no law. We have honored every treaty and alliance. We have saved lives, shared our knowledge, and worked for peace. And now you punish us for the world we were born on? For surviving the challenges our planet gave us? A Gentari counselor rose. You are too dangerous to be allowed freedom. Your potential for violence exceeds all acceptable parameters. Every species has the potential for violence, Helen countered. The question is, what we choose to do with that potential. Humanity has chosen peace. For now, the Gentari said, but your nature will reveal itself eventually. We cannot wait for that day. Helen looked around the chamber. Then you force our hand. Humanity will not submit to imprisonment. We will not disarm while you point weapons at our worlds. If you want peace, offer peace. But if you offer chains, we will refuse them. The chamber erupted in angry voices. The vote was called. It was not even close. By a margin of 4 to 1, the Council authorized the quarantine of humanity and the seizure of all human military assets. You have 48 hours to comply, the Council leader announced. After that, we will enforce this decision by any means necessary. Helen left the chamber knowing that war was coming. Aboard the Horizon's Edge, Jake received a coded message from General Webb. It was short. They want war. Let's give them one they'll never forget. Fall back to Sol. Regroup. Survive. But before they could move, proximity alarms screamed throughout the ship. Amy pulled up the tactical display. 20 warships had just dropped out of faster-than-light speed around them. All were Gentari. All had weapons armed. They're hailing us, Amy said. Jake opened the channel. A Gentari commander appeared on screen. Human vessel, you are ordered to power down and prepare to be boarded. We've broken no laws, Jake said. You exist. That is crime enough. Power down now, or we will open fire. Ryan looked at Jake. Orders, Captain? Jake thought about the people on his ship. 47 crew members, scientists, engineers, families. He thought about Earth, about the colonies, about every human counting on him to make the right choice. Amy, plot a jump to the nearest human colony. Maximum speed. All power to engines and shields. They'll fire on us, Amy warned. I know. Do it anyway. The horizon's edge surged forward. Behind them, the Gentari fleet opened fire. Energy weapons tore through space, striking the human ship's shields. Alarms blared. The ship shook, but they made it. The horizon's edge jumped to faster than light speed and escaped. As they raced toward the colony, Jake received another message. This one made his blood run cold. It was from the colony they were heading toward. The message was broken, filled with static and screaming. Under attack. Multiple ships. They're not warning us. They're just killing us. Oh God. They're targeting the residential sectors. Please. Someone help. Then silence. The war had begun, and the Council had struck first. The horizon's edge dropped out of faster than light speed at the edge of what used to be New Boston Colony. Jake Morrison stared at the view screen, unable to process what he was seeing. The colony was gone. Where 30,000 people had lived and worked just hours ago, there was now only debris and fire. Lisa Grant stood beside him, tears streaming down her face. She had friends there, colleagues who were studying alien plant life and sharing their findings with the galaxy. Now, they were dead. Scan for survivors, Jake ordered, his voice hollow. Amy Chen worked her controls, her hands moving frantically. After several minutes, she looked up. I'm picking up life signs. Approximately 200 people in emergency shelters, deep underground. But Captain, there are still Council ships in the area. If they detect us, plot a rescue approach, Jake said. We're not leaving anyone behind. Ryan Blake pulled up tactical data. We count 15 Council warships still in system. They're searching the debris field, probably making sure no one survived. We go in there, we might not come out. Then we don't come out, Jake said flatly. But we get those people first. The horizon's edge moved in slowly, using the debris field for cover. They managed to reach the largest shelter and began emergency transport. Survivors materialized on the ship, many of them injured, all of them traumatized. A young boy, maybe 7 years old, appeared on the transport pad covered in dust and blood. He looked around with empty eyes. Where's my mom? He asked Lisa, who was helping coordinate the rescue. Lisa knelt down, trying to find words. But before she could speak, alarms blared again. The Council ships had detected them. Get us out of here, Jake shouted. Amy's fingers flew across her controls. The horizon's edge jumped to faster than light speed, just as enemy fire tore through the space where they had been seconds before. They set course for Earth. But along the way they received more messages. Other colonies were under attack. Mars, Europa, Titan, the settlements on 3 different star systems. All were being hit simultaneously. This was not a police action or a quarantine. This was extermination. By the time the horizon's edge reached Earth, the casualty reports were coming in. 40,000 humans dead in the first wave. Entire families gone. Scientists, children, teachers, engineers, farmers, people who had believed in the dream of joining the galactic community, murdered for the crime of being born on a dangerous world. General Marcus Webb met them at the lunar orbital station. He was a hard man, with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. But even he looked shaken. It's coordinated, he said, pulling up a star map. Red marks showed where human positions had been destroyed. 7 species participated in the attacks. The Gentari led them. But they had help. They planned this. Probably for months. Maybe years. How many ships do we have? Ryan asked. Not enough, Webb admitted. We've got maybe 300 combat-capable vessels. They have over 15,000. And that's just what we can see. They might have more. Helen Torres, who had barely escaped Unity Station before it was locked down, spoke up. What about allies? Vex then and his people opposed this. There must be others. If there are, they're not speaking up, Webb said. The Council has declared humanity a threat to galactic peace. Anyone who helps us will be labeled traitors. Jake looked at the map, at the overwhelming enemy forces, at the tiny human fleet gathered near Earth. They could not win this fight. Not conventionally. Then we don't fight conventionally, he said. Everyone turned to look at him. They think they know us. Jake continued. They studied us, ran their simulations, decided we were dangerous, but they studied humans living in a peaceful galaxy, humans who were trying to fit in. They never studied what humans are really like when you threaten everything they love. 2. Webb smiled grimly. What are you suggesting? We fall back to Sol System, make them come to us. And then we show them what a Deathworld species can really do. Over the next week, humanity retreated. Every ship, every outpost beyond the solar system was abandoned. It looked like surrender. And that was exactly what they wanted the Council to think. The enemy forces gathered, preparing for a final assault on Earth. But humans were not preparing to surrender. They were preparing to survive. Sophia Blake, Ryan's sister, and the best engineer in the fleet, was working 18-hour days retrofitting ships. She stripped out everything unnecessary and added armor, redundant systems, backup generators. She made the ships ugly and brutal, but nearly indestructible. Most species design ships to avoid damage, she explained to Jake. We're designing ours to take damage and keep fighting, because that's what Deathworlders do. We endure. Dr. Paul Hendricks, who had been working with Council technology for years, found something interesting in the stolen databases. They're used to fighting in perfect conditions, he told General Webb. Temperature-controlled environments, stable gravity, calm spaces. Their ships can't handle extreme conditions. But ours can. Because we come from Earth, Webb said, understanding. Exactly. We can fight in places they can't even survive. Meanwhile, Lisa Grant was working on something else entirely. She had been studying alien biology for years, and she knew every species' weaknesses, not to hurt them, but now, facing extinction, she was willing to use that knowledge. I can create agents that will make them sick, she told Jake. Not kill them, but make them unable to fight. Their immune systems are weak compared to ours. They've never had to deal with the kind of diseases Earth produces. Jake hesitated. That's biological warfare. They're committing genocide, Lisa said quietly. I'm trying to find a way to stop them without becoming like them. Make them too sick to fight. Not dead. Give them a chance to surrender. Also, Jake approved the research, but he hoped they would not need to use it. When the Council fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system, they numbered over 8,000 ships, the largest armada ever assembled in galactic history. All of it aimed at one small blue planet. The Gentari Admiral broadcast a message. Humans of Earth, this is your final chance. Surrender now, and you will be allowed to live under quarantine. Resist, and we will erase you from the galaxy. General Webb sent the response. Come and try. The Council fleet advanced. They expected the human ships to meet them in open space, where numbers would decide everything. Instead, the human fleet scattered, falling back toward Earth, leading the enemy deeper into the solar system. They're running. The Gentari Admiral laughed. Press the attack! But as the Council ships chased the humans into the inner system, they began to realize something was wrong. The heat from the sun was intense, far more than their shields were designed for. Their cooling systems were struggling. Some ships were forced to fall back, then the human ships turned and fought. using the sun's glare to hide their approach. They struck fast and hard, targeting engines and weapons, then disappeared again before the Council could respond effectively. Commander Danny Price led a squadron of fighters into the rings of Saturn. The Council ships followed, but the dense ice and rock destroyed their sensors. In the chaos, human pilots who had trained in such conditions picked them apart. The Council was learning a hard lesson. Deathworlders knew how to fight in hell, because they came from hell. But there were still too many enemy ships. For every one they destroyed, 10 more advanced. Earth's orbital defenses activated. Weapons, platforms, and missile batteries that had been hidden for years. They took a heavy toll, but it was not enough. The Council fleet reached Earth, and the real battle began. The battle for Earth raged for 72 hours without stop. The Council fleet surrounded the planet, launching wave after wave of attacks. Human defenders fought from every position they could hold, turning every moon, every satellite, every piece of orbital infrastructure into a weapon. But Jake Morrison was not in space. The Horizon's Edge, heavily damaged from earlier fighting, approached a Council command carrier. The massive ship was coordinating attacks on Earth's surface, directing fire toward cities. Jake had seen enough. "Nicole, you're up," he said. Captain Nicole Sanders nodded. She commanded a special operations team of 20 soldiers, the best humanity had. They were not going to destroy the enemy ship with weapons. They were going to take it. The Horizon's Edge positioned itself to look like a drifting wreck, one of dozens floating in the battle zone. When the enemy carrier's shields opened for a moment to launch fighters, the human ship shot forward and latched onto the hull. Cutting torches burned through the armor. The human team poured into the Council ship, and that was when the enemy learned what close combat with humans really meant. The Council species were not weak, but they had evolved on gentler worlds. They tired quickly. They could not take much damage, and they had never fought something that simply would not stop. Nicole's team moved through the ship like a nightmare. They wore armor that would have crushed most species under its weight. They carried weapons designed for Earth's heavy gravity. And they had something the enemy did not understand. They were fighting for their home, for their families, for their survival. Lieutenant Ben Stafford reached the ship's command center and plugged into their systems. What he found there made his blood boil. Communications between Council leaders, messages planning not just Earth's destruction, but complete genocide. They were going to sterilize every human world, erase every trace that humanity had ever existed. "I'm uploading everything to our network," he told Nicole. "The whole galaxy needs to see this." While Ben worked, Nicole secured the ship's bridge. The enemy commander stared at her in disbelief. "How are you still standing?" he asked. "You've been fighting for 3 days without rest." Nicole smiled coldly. "We're from Earth. 3 days is nothing. We've had ancestors who fought for years." She broadcast a message to the Council fleet. "This is Human Special Forces. We have taken your command ship. We can take more. You came to our home. Big mistake." The psychological impact was immediate. The Council had thought their ships were safe, that humans could only fight ship to ship. Learning that humans could board and capture their vessels changed everything. Back on Earth's surface, General Webb was coordinating the ground defense. Some Council forces had managed to land troops, thinking they could overwhelm human positions with numbers. They learned another hard lesson. Human soldiers could fight in conditions that disabled most species. When Council troops landed in the desert, the heat exhausted them within hours. When they landed in the mountains, the thin air made them weak. When they landed in the jungle, Earth's diseases attacked them immediately. And everywhere they landed, they found humans who had spent their entire evolution learning to be the most dangerous thing in any environment. Dr. Karen Foster watched from a medical facility as enemy soldiers were brought in. They were not dying from human weapons. They were dying from Earth itself. The bacteria in the air, the viruses in the water, the simple act of breathing oxygen at Earth's concentration. All of it was killing them. "We don't even need to fight them," she told Lisa Grant. "Our planet is doing it for us. But Lisa was focused on something else. She had been analyzing the enemy fleet's biology, and she had found a pattern. They're all from similar worlds. Temperature stable, low gravity, controlled environments. None of them can handle extremes. An idea formed. She brought it to Jake. "We've been fighting them in space, where they're comfortable," she said. "What if we make them fight in conditions they can't handle?" Jake understood immediately. Like what? Jupiter's atmosphere, Venus's clouds, Mercury's surface. Places where we can build drones and weapons. But they can't bring their ships. The strategy shifted. Human forces began using the solar system itself as a weapon. They placed automated defenses in locations no living crew could survive. They fought from positions where the environment alone would kill any enemy who approached. The Council fleet's numbers began to matter less when most of their ships could not even reach the battle. But the Gentari were not giving up. Their admiral, a veteran of a dozen wars, recognized what was happening. The humans were adapting, using their Deathworld origins to create advantages. He decided to end it with one massive strike. He gathered every available ship and prepared to assault Earth directly, overwhelming the defenses through sheer firepower. 6,500 warships, all aimed at the blue planet below. General Webb watched them come. "They're going to try to burn us out. All ships, all defenses, prepare for final engagement." But then, something unexpected happened. Ships began breaking formation. Council vessels from 3 different species suddenly stopped advancing. Their commanders broadcast messages explaining that they had seen Ben Stafford's evidence. The communications proving the Gentari had been planning genocide from the start. "We did not sign up for this," one captain said. "We were told humans were dangerous. Not that we were committing murder. We're withdrawing." It was not many ships, maybe 400 out of thousands. But it was enough to create doubt. Enough to make others question what they were doing. The Gentari admiral was furious. He ordered his remaining forces forward. 4,000 ships descended on Earth. Jake Morrison knew this was the moment. Everything came down to this. He looked at his crew, at Amy Chen, who had flown them through impossible situations, at Ryan Blake, who had never stopped fighting, at Lisa Grant, who had given them every advantage science could provide. "All human forces," he broadcast. "This is it. Show them what Deathworlders can do." Earth's moon suddenly revealed dozens of hidden railgun batteries, weapons that used magnetic acceleration to fire projectiles at incredible speeds. In space, such weapons were devastating. The moon's lower gravity meant they could fire larger projectiles faster than anyone expected. The first salvo caught the Gentari fleet completely by surprise. Ships exploded as metal slugs tore through their hulls faster than their shields could respond. Sophia Blake had spent weeks programming the firing solutions. Every shot counted. Every trajectory calculated to cause maximum damage. The railguns were not elegant weapons. They were brutal, simple, and terrifyingly effective. But it still was not enough. The Council fleet pressed forward, taking losses but still advancing. They began firing on Earth's surface, targeting cities. That was when General Webb activated the final contingency. Satellites that had been in orbit for decades suddenly activated, revealing themselves as weapons platforms. The kinetic bombardment system, a weapon humanity had designed but never used, came online. Tungsten rods, simple metal cylinders, began dropping from orbit onto the enemy landing zones. They carried no explosives, just mass and velocity. When they hit, they released energy equivalent to tactical nuclear weapons. The Council ground forces were obliterated in minutes. In space, Danny Price made his decision. His fighter squadron was out of missiles, low on power, and surrounded. But he had one weapon left. His ships themselves. "All wings," he broadcast. "It's been an honor. Let's make this count." His squadron turned and accelerated directly at the Gentari flagship, the command vessel directing the entire assault. Point defense systems tried to stop them, but human pilots were too skilled, too determined, too willing to sacrifice everything. They struck the flagship like hammers, their ship's remaining power cores detonating on impact. The massive vessel shuddered, then split apart, atmosphere and crew venting into space. The Gentari admiral died, never understanding how he had lost to an inferior force. The destruction of the Gentari flagship broke something in the Council fleet. For 3 days they had thrown everything at Earth, and the small blue planet had not only survived but had fought back harder than they thought possible. Now their commander was dead, their plans were exposed to the galaxy, and the humans were still fighting. Ships began to retreat. First a few, then dozens, then hundreds. The great armada that had come to destroy humanity was falling apart. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, barely able to believe what he was seeing. They had won. Against impossible odds, outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Humanity had survived, but the cost had been terrible. He thought about Danny Price and his squadron, about the 40,000 who died in the first attacks, about the cities damaged by orbital bombardment. Victory did not feel sweet. It felt like ash. "Captain," Amy Chen said quietly, "the remaining council ships are requesting terms of surrender." Jake looked at General Webb's image on the screen. The general nodded. "It's your call, Captain. You started this fight. You should finish it." Jake took a deep breath. He could order the destruction of every council ship in the system. After what they had done, no one would blame him. Humanity had earned the right to revenge. But then he thought about the children he had rescued from New Boston, about the future they deserved, about what kind of galaxy he wanted to leave them. "Open a channel to all ships," he said. "Council and human." Thousands of vessels received his transmission. Millions of beings waited to hear what the humans would do now that they had won. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of Earth," he began. 3 days ago, you came to destroy us. You killed our people, burned our colonies, and tried to exterminate our species. You did this because you were afraid of what we might become. You saw that we came from a dangerous world and decided that made us dangerous." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "You were right to be afraid. But not for the reasons you thought. You should have been afraid of what you would become when you let fear turn you into murderers. You should have been afraid of how easily your leaders convinced you to commit genocide. You should have been afraid of the precedent you were setting, that any species could be destroyed simply for being different." On council ships, crew members listened in shame. They had not questioned their orders. They had simply followed. And now they saw what that had led to. "But here's what you got wrong," Jake continued. "You thought our danger came from our strength, our endurance, our ability to fight. It doesn't. Our real strength is that we remember. We remember every colony you burned. We remember every name of every person you killed. We remember the fear in their voices when they called for help that never came." His voice hardened. "And we choose to remember something else. We remember that we are better than you showed yourselves to be. We remember the ideals we joined this galaxy to uphold. We remember that civilization means choosing justice over revenge." He looked directly at the camera. "So here are our terms. The Galactic Council is dissolved, effective immediately. Any species that participated in attacks on human worlds will face war crimes, tribunals. Leaders who ordered genocide will be prosecuted. But the soldiers who followed orders, the crews who believed they were protecting the galaxy, you will be allowed to go home." Shocked silence followed his words. "Furthermore," Jake said, "Earth proposes a new galactic government, one with real democratic representation, one with laws protecting all species, not just the powerful ones, one where being different is not a crime." Counselor Vestan, who had been broadcasting from a neutral station, spoke up. "Captain Morrison, on behalf of those who oppose this war, I accept these terms. The Gentari Empire has collapsed. Their people are already rebelling against the leadership that led them to this disaster. Many species are ready for change." Ambassador Helen Torres appeared on screen from Earth. The new government will be founded on a simple principle. No species should be punished for what they might do, only for what they have done, and no species should be destroyed for where they came from. Over the following weeks, the galaxy began to rebuild. War crimes tribunals were held. Krelix, the scientist who had started the panic about humans, was among those prosecuted. He stood before the court and admitted his crime was not studying humans, but letting fear overwhelm reason. "I saw how dangerous they could be," he said, "but I did not see how dangerous we became in response to that fear." He was sentenced to work in rebuilding the colonies his reports had helped destroy. Many others received similar sentences. The goal was not just punishment, but ensuring the galaxy learned from its mistakes. Lisa Grant led the relief efforts on the destroyed colonies. Humans and aliens worked side by side, building new settlements for the survivors. The young boy who had asked about his mother became a symbol of why they were fighting. His name was Peter, and he was adopted by Nicole Sanders, the special operations captain who had captured the enemy carrier. "We fight so he never has to," Nicole explained when asked why she had taken him in. The new galactic government was formed 6 months after the battle. It was called the Federation of Free Worlds, and its founding document included protections that would prevent another genocide. Every species had representation. Every species had rights. And most importantly, military force could only be used defensively, never for extermination. But humanity did not forget the lessons they had learned. General Webb oversaw the construction of new defensive systems throughout the solar system. "We hope for peace," he said, "but we prepare for war. Always." Sophia Blake designed a new generation of ships, combining human durability with the best technology from across the galaxy. These vessels were given to the Federation's defense force, but Earth kept its own fleet, independent and strong. "Trust, but verify," she said, with a smile. 1 year after the battle, a memorial was built in orbit around Earth. It was a simple structure, a ring of metal with 40,000 names engraved on it, one for each human who died in the genocide attempt. A light shone from Earth's surface, illuminating the names so they could be seen from space. Jake Morrison stood aboard the horizon's edge, now fully repaired and updated, looking at the memorial. Ryan Blake stood beside him. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Ryan asked. "Letting them surrender instead of destroying them?" Jake thought about it for a long moment. "I think we did the human thing. We survived by being stronger than they expected. But we won by being better than they feared." Amy Chen called from the helm. "Captain, we have clearance for departure. Our new mission is ready." "Where are we going?" Jake asked. "Exploration," Amy said with a smile. "The old council restricted which systems we could visit. Now the whole galaxy is open. There are 1,000 worlds that want to meet the species that survived." Jake looked one last time at the memorial, at the names glowing in the darkness. Then, he turned to his crew. "Set course for the unknown. Let's show the galaxy what humans are really like when we're not fighting for our lives." The horizon's edge turned away from Earth and jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading out into a galaxy that was learning to see humans not as threats, but as partners. But Earth's defensive systems remained active. The fleet stayed ready. The lessons stayed learned. Because humanity remembered what happened when the galaxy betrayed them, and they would never be caught unprepared again. They had proven they could survive as Deathworlders. Now they would prove they could thrive as peacemakers. The choice was up to the galaxy. Meet humans as friends, and benefit from their strength and determination. Or meet them as enemies, and learn why Deathworld species survive when others don't. Most species chose friendship. They had seen what happened to those who chose otherwise, and in quiet moments, when the galaxy gathered to celebrate their new era of cooperation, older species would tell their children about the war, about the time they tried to destroy humanity and learned the most important lesson. It's not the strength of Deathworlders you should fear, it's their memory. and their choice to be merciful despite having every reason not to be. That, more than any weapon, was what made humans truly dangerous.